It's Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's another edition of Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Florio here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock. And tonight, what a difference a week makes. Last week, we had an all NHL edition of Strictly Sports. Tonight, we have an all NBA edition of Strictly Sports. Blockbuster trade, 2 new coaching hires, the draft lottery, and in our main event, we will preview the conference finals. So with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. About a week ago, blockbuster trade in the NBA. 2 weeks after replacing Danny Ainge as president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens made a seismic first move in his new role. Boston is sending all-star point guard Kemba Walker, the 16th pick in this year's NBA draft, and a 2025 second-round selection to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Al Horford, Moses Brown, and a 2023 second-round pick. It is unusual for any trade to happen before next week's NBA Combine, let alone one this significant. But Stevens has a long-standing relationship with Thunder general manager Sam Presti, and the deal accomplished key objectives for both franchises. The Celtics get significant financial flexibility as Stevens tries to retool the roster around young stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Walker is owed roughly $73 million over the next 2 years, while Horford is owed $53 million, $41 million guaranteed over the same 2 years. That flexibility will give Boston the potential capability to re-sign guard Evan Fournier, whom they acquired at this year's trade deadline, and who will be an unrestricted free agent this summer, while also reuniting the Celtics with Horford, who spent 3 years with them before signing his current deal with the Philadelphia 76ers in 2019. Oklahoma City, on the other hand, is continuing to acquire draft capital as it rebuilds its roster around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Thunder have 3 first-round picks in this year's draft, their own, Boston's, and either the 5th pick or the 18th pick, depending on whether Oklahoma City gets Houston's top 4 protected first-rounder after the draft lottery. The Thunder now have 18 first-round picks over the next 7 drafts. The trade also continues a consistent trend under Presti for Oklahoma City to work with players to find them a suitable new home, something he has done with Chris Paul, Danny Green, and now Horford after acquiring all 3 within the past several months. Oklahoma City will work with Walker in a similar fashion, according to sources. The move brings an end to a tumultuous 2 years for Walker with the Celtics after his celebrated signing in July 2019 to replace Kyrie Irving as the team's starting point guard. After being one of the NBA's most durable players during his 8 years in Charlotte to begin his career, missing a total of 35 games, he has missed 45 the past 2 seasons, including 29 this year alone. After spending most of the 2020 calendar year battling left knee issues, Walker underwent a 12-week strengthening program in the offseason to try to improve the knee, missing the start of the season, and then was intentionally held out of one half of every back-to-back set. But Walker, who averaged 19.3 points and 4.9 assists in 43 games, still wound up sitting out the final 2 games of Boston's season, games 4 and 5 of the Celtics' first-round playoff series loss at the hands of the Brooklyn Nets, with a bone bruise in that same left knee. Horford, who turned 35 earlier this month, played well in 28 games for OKC, averaging 14.2 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 3.4 assists in 27.9 minutes a game, before he and the Thunder mutually agreed to shut him down for the rest of the season to better ensure they could find a suitor for him this offseason. He will likely be Boston's starting center next season. And as for Brown, Moses Brown, only 21 years of age, he impressed as a two-way player before signing a multi-year deal with Oklahoma City, averaging 8.6 points and 8.9 rebounds in 43 games, including going for 21 points and 23 rebounds against the Celtics on March 27th in Oklahoma City. So there's everything we need to know about this. So, Brad Stevens not wasting any time in his new role, and I commend him for this trade. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people are very pleased with the trade, and I think it's going to do wonders for both sides. I really do, and but Boston needs a little more. I think they need a little more if they're going to contend, and I think they need another young star, and someone like Alonzo Ball, I think would be a good fit. I really feel that way, and yeah, so that's really all I can say about this. So thumbs up all around for this. So good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. You heard all the schematics and everything else. What's your thoughts on this blockbuster trade?
Yeah, this was a big trade. This was a big moment for the Boston Celtics. At first, a lot of people weren't really too sure, wondering if this was the right thing to do, if this was the right move, if this was the right trade. Well, honestly enough, actually, yes, this was the right move. This was the right trade, and this was the right thing to do. So, no, hats off to the Boston Celtics for doing it. Plus, it saves them $9 million, and that's something that you can definitely work with down the line, and is actually a game changer if you really think about it. So, no, I mean, going in, I think a lot of people were apprehensive about it, but then once we realized how this trade went down, the Boston Celtics actually made out really well. Yes, Oklahoma City's going to benefit big time because of the trade, because of getting a guy like a Kemba Walker is absolutely huge. That's going to be absolutely phenomenal to have. Now it's just how's that going to play out in the long term down the line, and at the end of the day, you needed this to be done, and they did it. So hats off to both teams for pulling off what I believe is a very good trade. And yeah, there's really nothing more to add. So Michael Bullock, it's all yours as Boston and OKC pulls off a blockbuster trade. But like I said, it benefits both teams because for one, Al Horford is loved by the Celtic fans, and two, if you're Brad Stevens, you made yourself a very good move because now you save yourself money where you could sign Jaylen Brown long term, Jason Tatum could be a long term, or you could go out in the market and get a good mid-level exception guy that can add to your team. Remember, I think Boston's one piece away from an NBA championship run. Maybe this money might free them up to make a run at an NBA superstar.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I think this trade, like you said, basically benefits both teams. I mean, number one, you're getting a good point guard in Kemba Walker when it comes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, I think the only thing is he's got to stay healthy, and that's the thing that really frustrated the Celtics was his health. I mean, especially his knee. His knee has always been the issue, and that's why he missed so many amount of games. And yes, getting Al Horford, well, I mean, he was beloved by not only the fans but also by some of the teammates that he had, and why the Celtics went to the conference finals in back-to-back years when Horford was part of the team. And yeah, I think to me is like I think they need to add one, maybe two more key pieces to the for them to really compete. I mean, yeah, Marcus Smart is a good point guard, but the only thing is he's only good when it comes to defensively. I think you need to get another one that could help offensively, whether it's through free agency, whether it's via the draft. But who knows? I mean, Brad Stevens certainly did not waste any time, and I definitely commend him for it. And yeah, I like this trade. It definitely benefits both teams. Well, and the only thing is, I think there's one guy when it comes to, in Boston that probably is not happy about Al Horford being back. I don't know if you guys know where. Well, Anthony knows where I'm going with this, but Fletch, you don't know about it. This certain guy from WEEI, and let's just say he's been calling Al Horford Average Al for a long time. It's one Lou Merlone. And I get it, he's not the best thing out there, but he's a good enough player that could definitely contribute to the team. So I don't know why he calls him Average Al. For why, I don't understand, but it is what it is. He's right to his opinion, so even though I certainly don't agree with it, but anywho, this is a trade I think that definitely benefits both teams. But like I said, the Celtics need one or two more pieces to really put them in contention for a championship, along with the Bucks, along with the Nets. So there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Staying with the Boston Celtics, they are finalizing an agreement with Brooklyn Nets assistant Ime Udoka to make him the franchise's new coach, sources have told ESPN. Udoka will replace Celtics president of basketball operations Brad Stevens, who stepped down as coach earlier this month to replace Danny Ainge, running the franchise's basketball operations. MF, you reported this earlier. You sent this to me, and this is something you wanted to address. So with that being said, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, and the thing is that this guy is going to be a tremendous head coach. He is the protege of one Greg Popovich. And this guy was the must-have coach for a number of years prior to them going in. And Udoka is a beloved guy in San Antonio. Before he left to become an assistant, a lot of people felt like he was the heir apparent to Greg Popovich, that if Popovich ever retires, that this was going to be the guy that was going to take over the team. He is savvy. He is smart. He has a great IQ, a very good pedigree when it comes to coaching and everything else, and is just one of those guys who's defensive minded. And I think that's the one thing that I really believe that the Boston Celtics really needs. They need a defensive minded coach, because that's, I think, the one thing that they were lacking a lot on last year. They need a defensive style type coach that can be a lockdown team. You got good offensive players, but I think there was something lacking on the defensive end that got ourselves in trouble last season. And I think that's the one thing that I really love. He will be an influence, a difference maker immediately in day one. And already, Udoka is well loved in the NBA circles. This is a guy that I would love to have seen in Chicago as an assistant. I know a lot of San Antonio Spurs fans knows him really, really, really well. He was one of those guys. He was an architect who was a part of the dynasty of the San Antonio Spurs. He was one of the assistant coaches of the Spurs dynasty. He's won NBA championships. He was there with Greg Popovich when they had the big three, and then the emergence of a Kawhi Leonard back in a few years ago. So he was there when this team was exploding at the right time. And he has a Zen-like master type attitude that I really think he is a player's coach. He's going to work really well. Jason Tatum wanted this guy to be the head coach. He was pushing very hard for Udoka to be the head coach of the Boston Celtics, from what I've heard from a few people that I know inside of who's really, really close with the Boston Celtics, people that I know who are good friends, people that I know who works at TD Garden, some people I know who's pretty close to the Boston Bruins side. There's some people that I know who's pretty close to the Celtics side. So this is kind of a little bit inside information, but Jason Tatum wanted Udoka to be one of the head coaches when they heard that he was available for it. And sure enough, they got him. Great, great move. Great news. This is going to be a great pickup for the Celtics. I love this pickup. Like I said, he is a great he was a very good assistant. And the thing is, he went from San Antonio to Brooklyn. Now he's going to Boston. he's putting himself in a very good position. Even though he's never been here before, this is the first time ever. I like where this could go. I like where this can go. So I really got nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, be proud and be happy. You got yourself a very good head coach heading to Boston, in my eyes.
Yeah, I've heard the reviews about him, and yeah, I think he's going to fit perfectly with the Celtics. I mean, they needed a defensive minded coach, and this guy is definitely going to help fix up this defense. I mean, yes, offensively they're good, but the defense was one of the reasons why they were such a letdown this year. And yeah, I think he's definitely going to fix things up for them, and I think this is definitely a huge steal as far as I'm concerned. So I love this. I love this move. So there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Well, I didn't know anything about this guy until you guys straightened it out. So I'm not really going to give much of an analysis on this, but I will address it. Udoka separated himself quickly in the search process, sources said, and his candidacy was boosted with strong recommendations from key Celtics stars, including Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, who played for Udoka on Team USA in the 2019 FIBA World Cup. Like MF mentioned, Udoka was an assistant with the San Antonio Spurs for 7 seasons under legendary coach Greg Popovich. He left San Antonio to join Brett Brown's staff in Philadelphia 2 years ago and moved on to Brooklyn under Steve Nash this season. He spent several years in pro basketball as a player, including stops with the Lakers, Blazers, Kings, Knicks, and Spurs. Milwaukee Bucks assistant Darvin Ham and LA Clippers assistant Chauncey Billups had multiple interviews with the Celtics. Both were considered top candidates in the process, sources said. So, like I said, I don't know much about the guy, but obviously MF and Bullock obviously know him very well, and I'm not gonna argue with anything. I'm not gonna argue with anything they said. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna say, let's see what happens. I'm aboard, and we'll wait and see. We'll see if next year, the Celtics can, slowly but surely start getting back to glory. I mean, I know Bullock would love. I know Bullock would love to see at least one more banner up there with those legendary banners in TD Garden in his lifetime. So we'll see. So like I said, I don't know much about the guy, but now we're gonna go to another coach. But this one is a coach that I know very well. Rick, and this was also reported today by good old MF Michael Fletcher. He sent it to me in a private message. Rick Carlisle. A week after resigning from the Dallas Mavericks, Rick Carlisle has agreed to a 4-year deal to return to the Indiana Pacers as head coach. The deal is worth $29 million plus incentives, sources said. The Pacers announced Carlisle's hiring today, but did not disclose terms of his contract. So with that being said, Michael Bullock, Rick Carlisle going back to Indiana for a second stint as head coach. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, his second stint as the coach of the Indiana Pacers. I mean, first time. I mean, yeah, he did bring some success, but not enough for them. But maybe they feel like he's the guy that can lead this Indiana Pacers team, and who knows, maybe bring them back to their winning ways. So we're gonna have to wait and see. So there's really nothing more for me to say. I mean, Florio, what can you say, man? Rick Carlisle is back. So how do you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I gotta be honest. I must say I'm surprised, Bullock. I mean, I'll get into that in a minute, but I got to throw the numbers out there because I am the numbers guy here. Carlisle spent 13 seasons in Dallas, becoming the franchise's winningest coach with a .555 and .478 record, and leading the Mavs to the franchise's only NBA championship in 2011. His resignation came a day after the franchise parted ways with longtime president of basketball operations Donnie Nelson. But Carlisle, at the front office changes in Dallas, had nothing to do with his decision. Mark Cuban has said that he plans to hire a new head of basketball operations before finding Carlisle's replacement. Mavs legend Dirk Nowitzki has returned to the franchise as a special advisor to assist Cuban in those searches. Sources told ESPN today, or earlier this evening, that the Mavericks are progressing in talks to make Hall of Fame point guard Jason Kidd the franchise's new head coach. Dallas also offered longtime Nike executive Nico Harrison a front office leadership position and are optimistic that Vice President of Basketball Operations Michael Finley will remain with the franchise, sources have said. Mavs assistant coach Jamal Mosley, who has a particularly strong relationship with superstar guard Luka Doncic, was also expected to be among the coaching candidates considered in Dallas's search. Carlisle on Thursday offered a strong endorsement of Kidd, whom Carlisle coached for 4 seasons in Dallas, highlighted by the Mavs championship run. My hope is that Jason Kidd will be the next coach of the Mavs because he and Luka have so many things in common as players, Carlisle said. I just think that it would be a great situation for Luka, and I think it would be an amazing situation for Jason. I'm the only person on the planet that's coached both of those guys and that knows about all of their special qualities as basketball players. To me, that just would be a great marriage, but that's just an opinion. Carlisle previously coached the Pacers for 4 seasons from the 03-04 to 06-07, compiling a 181 and 147 record, making the playoffs 3 times, including an appearance in the 2004 Eastern Conference Finals, where they lost to the Detroit Pistons. And he was also a top assistant under Larry Bird for 3 seasons, 97-98 to 99-2000. You remember in 2000, that Pacer team went to the NBA Finals, but lost to the Lakers. In his return to Indiana, Carlisle replaced Nate Bjorkgren, who was fired after 1 season as Pacers head coach. Indiana went 34-38 this past season when the team had several key injuries and Bjorkgren clashed with core players. The Pacers were eliminated in the play-in tournament, snapping the franchise's streak of 5 consecutive playoff appearances. Carlisle cited his trust in team owner Herb Simon as a reason the Indiana job was attractive to him. The Mavs, meanwhile, have not advanced past the first round since winning the title a decade ago, having undergone a rebuilding process during that span. They were eliminated each of the past 2 years by the Los Angeles Clippers, losing in 7 games this year after winning the first 2 games of the series on the road. In the wake of the Mavs' elimination, Cuban told ESPN that he would not consider a coaching change this offseason. However, sources said that simmering tension between Carlisle and Doncic, the 22-year-old 2-time first-team All-NBA selection, had become a concern within the organization. Carlisle said he reached the conclusion that his departure from Dallas would be, quote-unquote, mutually beneficial. The Mavericks will not ask the Pacers for compensation despite Carlisle resigning. With 2 years remaining on his contract, sources said Cuban did not want to complicate Carlisle's search for a new coaching opportunity. Now, some news has surfaced. According to sources, the Dallas Mavericks are indeed they are progressing in talks to make Jason Kidd the franchise's new head coach. We're going to hold off on that. If and when it becomes official, then we'll address it. We'll address that next week. But I always like to wait until things are official. So so with that being said, MF, here's another one that you broke down and wanted to address. So Rick Carlisle going back to Indiana, and Jason Kidd in talks. Key word, in talks to become the next Mavs coach.
Yeah, and that's the key word there, in talks. So that does not necessarily mean that it's official yet. We're hoping it is official, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But if Jason Kidd's the guy, that's a big hire. It would be a great hire. Jason Kidd goes back to Dallas. I know a lot of teams been looking to try to get Jason Kidd for a number of years now. So that'd be a great move if they can get Jason Kidd. But Rick Carlisle going back to Indiana, I don't think you can say anything bad about it. I think that's it's a very good move, no doubt about it. I'm sorry, I had a little something there. But I gotta say, I really like Rick Carlisle. I think Carlisle is a very good coach. It's unfortunate it didn't work in Dallas, but there has been talks that Luka Doncic has been a problem. This has been a little bit under the surface. Now it's starting to bubble over, and this is not good if you're Dallas. If Luka is a problem, that is not what you want to hear. So I don't know what's going on over there. I think we got to dig a little more deeper down the line about that. But at the end of the day, this was actually a good hire, and for him to go back to Indiana, that's good because his best years were with the Indiana Pacers. I really think he did really well with Indiana. More than anything else, we'll wait and see how it plays out. But no, this was a good hire, and I'm glad that he went back to Indiana. So I wish him nothing but the best. Anthony, I don't think there's anything more to add. So I guess we're on to our main event, which is the East and Western Conference Finals.
Well, actually, no. There's one other thing we need.
Oh, there is one thing. Yes.
And this is another thing that you wanted to address, and rightfully so. This past week, we had the NBA draft lottery. And just bear with me for a moment. So just need to see something here. Okay. The year 2021 has been big for Ben Wallace. First, he was named to the Hall of Fame. Then Tuesday night, he was the good luck charm for his former franchise, the Detroit Pistons, in the NBA's annual draft lottery. Detroit claimed the top spot in a loaded 2021 NBA draft, followed by the Houston Rockets, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Toronto Raptors. The rest of the top 10 includes Orlando, Oklahoma City, Golden State, which gets Minnesota's selection, Orlando, which gets Chicago's selection, Sacramento, and New Orleans. Charlotte, San Antonio, Indiana, and Golden State with its own selection round out the lottery picks. The Magic and Warriors each landed 2 picks in the lottery. Detroit, after taking 3 players in the first round of last year's draft, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and Sadiq Bey, will now get a chance to add a high-end talent to its mix. It will be the Pistons' first top 5 selection since they took Darko Milicic, number 2 overall in 2003, and their third in the past 40 years. They also took Grant Hill, number 3 overall in 1994. Detroit has the top overall pick for the first time since drafting Hall of Fame center Bob Lanier out of St. Bonaventure in 1970. Oklahoma State guard Cade Cunningham is projected by many to be the number 1 overall pick. Sources told ESPN's Adrienne Wojnarowski on Tuesday night that the plan for Cunningham will be to visit only one team before the draft, the Pistons. Cleveland. Well, actually, the Rockets, Houston, after making the playoffs the last 8 years, saw things go in an entirely different direction this season after trading James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets for a bevy of draft picks in January. But after finishing with the NBA's worst record, Houston got a bit of luck Tuesday night, allowing it a chance to immediately begin to restock its coffers around center Christian Wood with an elite young talent. Now Cleveland, after picking 5th the past 2 years, got a dose of lottery luck this time around. The Cavaliers hope to break back into the playoff mix in the Eastern Conference next season around whomever they pick to join young guards Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, forward Isaac Okoro, and center Jared Allen. It was a miserable season for the Toronto Raptors, who saw what easily was the most successful stretch in franchise history, 7 straight playoff appearances, including the 2019 NBA championship, come to a screeching halt. Playing in Tampa, Florida, because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Raptors endured a stretch of close losses to begin the season, then a massive bout of COVID cases among players and coaches just as the team got itself back to 500 midway through, sinking its chances at a return to the postseason. Tuesday night, however, the Raptors got some reward for that ugly season as they leaped into the top 4 for a chance to add a premium young player to a team that is ready to win right now around its core of guard Fred VanVleet and forwards Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. The Orlando Magic shifted into rebuilding mode this year, trading Nikola Vucevic to Chicago, Evan Fournier to Boston, and Aaron Gordon to Denver. Now they will get 2 cracks at adding young talent to their core thanks to their own pick, the 5th overall selection and that of the Bulls, which they got as a result of the Vucevic trade when it didn't jump into the top 4 selections. No team had more to gain in this draft than Oklahoma City, The Thunder were the only team that had a chance to land 2 top 5 selections if they received Houston's pick, which would have happened if the Rockets didn't move up in the draft. Ultimately, Houston got lucky, leaving the Thunder with their own pick, 6th overall, in addition to Boston's 16th overall selection, which they picked up in last week's trade that sent Al Horford back to the Celtics for Kemba Walker and Miami's 18th overall selection, as they continue to rebuild around emerging star guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The T-Wolves knew they would be giving up their pick either this year if they stayed outside the top 3 or an unprotected pick next season if they did not. They wound up paying that debt this season, meaning Golden State will have 2 lottery picks this year. The 7th overall selection from Minnesota puts its own pick at 14th overall, along with center James Wiseman, last year's 2nd overall selection. The Warriors will hope they can either get a couple of players to help build a long-term bridge to a future beyond Golden State's big 3 of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, or potentially give them the ammunition to make immediate upgrades after missing the playoffs the last 2 years. Warriors GM Bob Myers. Oh, and we have breaking news from the NHL. Ladies and gentlemen, the Montreal Canadiens are going to the Stanley Cup Finals. How about that? Whoa, boy. They are going to party like it's 1993, friends. What was that, Bullock?
How about that?
He said,
what do you say, Doc?
How about that? Oh my goodness, man. Unbelievable. Heartbreak for Vegas, but for Montreal, and they've broken the jinx, man. A Canadian team has broken to the final. Now can they do it? Can they win the Stanley Cup? A Canadian team has not won the cup since 1993. Obviously enough, the last team to do it is the team that just got to the final tonight, Montreal.
Yes, sir. So, and because of this, we're gonna be making some history, gentlemen. For the first time since 1980, we are not going to see a traditional Stanley Cup final. Stanley Cup final traditionally, Eastern Conference team versus Eastern Conference champion versus Western Conference champion. We're not going to see that. We're guaranteed to have an all-Eastern Conference Stanley Cup final. Because the Montreal Canadiens, technically an Eastern Conference team. Islanders, technically an Eastern Conference team. Lightning, technically an Eastern Conference team. First time since 80, MF.
But the kicker is that, yes, it's going to be East versus East, but the bigger storyline, USA versus Canada.
First time in 10 years.
First time in 10 years we've had that.
Boston and Vancouver.
And that's going to be the bigger plot point, because now we're going to see how this plays out. A lot of people wanted Montreal to be there at the end. If we get the Islanders at the end, I'm telling you right now, this could be one of the best rated Stanley Cup final in a very long time, since Boston and Vancouver. Or actually, no, correction, since Boston and Chicago, when they had their original 6th final. That was one of the highest rated finals of all time for NBC.
And in our opinion, the greatest final of all time.
Oh, yeah. It was incredible. Well, if you talk to Michael Bullock, don't say that, especially Game 6.
Of course.
We can't. We don't want to die. We don't want to die. But we got to say, but it was an incredible, that was one of our favorite finals.
Oh.
For me and for Anthony to do that final, that was
Game 6 especially.
That was a blast to do.
Game 6 especially Taze to Bickle. We all know that.
Yeah.
So and then one of your greatest calls of all time that has never left my memory, your legendary it's in. I have never forgotten that. Never. So but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, the Montreal Canadiens are going to the Stanley Cup Finals. They have defeated the Vegas Golden Knights. They win it by a score of 3-2 in sudden death overtime in front of 3,500 fans at the Bell Center in Montreal, with God knows how many of them outside of it.
Oh, they're losing their minds right now.
Yeah, they're partying like it's 93.
And an entire country on their side right now as well.
What a story.
What a story.
I mean, Canada has had they've had a lot more worse COVID restrictions than we've had.
Yep.
I mean, especially the travel.
Funny thing is, though, now I gotta wonder, is that there is no trophy to be presented because they did announce that the Prince of Wales and the Clarence Campbell Bowl will not be presented. What are they going to do? Is Bill Daly going to be there? What is he going to do? Are they just going to take a team photo? I mean, what do you do? What is Montreal going to do right now? Other than the handshake line, which is traditional, well, what do you do after that?
1 minute and 39 seconds into overtime.
Yeah.
It only took 1:39 into the extra session.
Well, if you think about it,
whoa! Hold on a minute. We got a trophy. They just brought a trophy out.
Huh?
Now, I
was told there was no trophy. There was going to be no trophy.
Well, we got one. It's the Clarence Campbell Bowl. They just brought out the Clarence Campbell Bowl. The Montreal Canadiens are about to skate off with the Clarence Campbell Bowl. I'm not kidding. It's on USA right now. Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly is presenting the Clarence Campbell Bowl to, well, they're not the Western Conference champions, but nonetheless, the Montreal Canadiens, they're going to skate the Campbell Bowl. Wow. Oh my goodness. I mean, like MF / Doc just said, I mean, he was told that there was not going to be any trophies. We didn't think there was going to be any trophies, considering that it was not a full-on East versus West. But nonetheless, the Montreal Canadiens have just been awarded the Clarence Campbell Bowl. Unbelievable.
Well, wait a minute. That now makes me wonder. We got a Game 7 tomorrow.
As the streamers rain down in the Bell Center, the streamers coming down, and I know we were going with this, MF. If they gave the Montreal Canadiens the Clarence Campbell Bowl,
Prince of Wales showing up tomorrow,
I think it's only fitting.
I'm a little shocked that you told me there's the Clarence Campbell Bowl's out there. I was like, wait a minute, they told us no trophies.
Yeah, we thought there were going to be no trophies, but no, the Montreal Canadiens just got the Campbell Bowl. So,
and okay, big question, Floyo, you know it. Did they touch it?
Let me see. Let me rewind it.
Because there's normally a no touch. I don't think they're superstitious.
I don't believe they did. No. But they did take the obligatory what I call family portrait.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, they gathered around it along with Deputy Commissioner Daly,
which is cool. Okay.
Yep, we should know. I mean, we had a family portrait 7 years ago, which we'll never forget to this day. Hopefully, at least one more time in our lifetime, we'll get to experience that thrill again. But
even Michael Bullock got to see it with the Boston Bruins. Got a couple of family portraits.
He's gotten 3 of them.
Yeah, had 3 of them.
11, 13, and 19.
11 was successful. 13, nope. 19, nope.
But nonetheless, though, I mean, what a story! The Montreal Canadiens. I believe I think they had the fewest points of any team in this postseason.
Yeah,
they had the lowest record among all the teams.
They were the 4th. I think they were the 4th place team in the North Division. Yep, in the North Division, knocked out Toronto, knocked out Winnipeg.
Clean sweep.
Now they've turned around and just did the unthinkable and knocked off what many people thought was one of the best teams in the West by knocking out the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Vegas Golden Knights knocked out Colorado, who is the President's Trophy winners.
This is
unreal.
This is reminding me of the St. Louis Blues of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember St. Louis.
Great goaltending with Carey Price, a ferocious, fast line, bruising defense. It's got the makings of St. Louis all over again, Anthony. It does. You're absolutely right.
Unbelievable, man. What a story.
What a night. And we're going to get more into that next week when we get into the Cup final.
Yep, we will have a preview of the Stanley Cup Finals next week, and we will also address the other big story. The Seattle Kraken have announced their first head coach, so we will address that next week as well. So that's another story that came out today. But man, I mean, I don't know how we can follow that, but what a moment. I mean, you think about everything that the people of Canada have been through, especially with COVID. I mean, this is a welcome sight for them. Cole Caulfield, the third star of the game. Carey Price, the number 2 star of the game, 37 saves on 39 shots. And the star of the game, of course, the golden goal, Artturi Lehkonen. 1 minute and 39 seconds in the sudden death overtime. Knocks out the Vegas Golden Knights and sends the Montreal Canadiens to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in 28 years. I mean, what a story. Congratulations, you guys. I mean, hell of a job. Enjoy. That's all I can say. Could it lead to an even bigger win within the next couple of weeks? We should find out. But anyway, back to this. We could wax poetic about this all night, but we don't have that kind of time. Plus, we have other things to talk about. So let's dive back into the draft there. Every year, the teams that jump into the top 4 feel lucky on lottery night. This year, however, that feeling will only be intensified by the top-end talent available in this draft. With just over a month before the July 29 draft, the consensus top 4 players available in no particular order are Cunningham, Gonzaga guard Jalen Suggs, USC big man Evan Mobley, and guard Jalen Green, who is an inaugural member of the NBA's G League Ignite program. The combination of that talent, as well as the fact that 3 picks within the top 8 were up for grabs due to prior trades, made this year's lottery one of the most anticipated in years. 20% of the league found itself on pins and needles entering Tuesday night's festivities as a result of those prior deals. The Rockets, because of the Russell Westbrook trade with Oklahoma City 2 years ago, would either keep their pick if it fell within the top 4 or send the 5th pick in the draft to the Thunder. The Bulls, meanwhile, either would keep their pick if it fell in the top 4 or give up a mid-lottery pick to the Orlando Magic after trading for Center Vucevic at this year's trade deadline. And the Timberwolves would either keep their pick if it landed in the top 3 or an unprotected pick next year because of the Russell trade. Ultimately, it was Houston, Orlando, and Golden State that managed to have things break their way Tuesday night. As a result, 6 teams, Oklahoma City 3, Houston 3, Golden State 2, Orlando 2, and New York 2, have control over 12 of the 31st round picks in this year's draft. Doodle MF Michael Fletcher, what do you make of all that? MF, are you there? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, all right. Never mind. Just waiting for MF to come back in. I wanted to move on to his thoughts about the festivities of the draft lottery and all the schematics that went with it. So, I know it's been, hard times for the Detroit Pistons over the last few years, but, getting the number 1 pick, maybe this is their way of, finally getting back into the fold. I mean, Ben Wallace, what can you say? Being the guy there, the good luck charm for them and coming out on top in the lottery. So, I didn't see any indication that MF had to step away or anything, but okay, there he is. All right, MF, you heard everything. You heard all the numbers and everything else about the draft lottery. I remember a long time ago, about 15 or so years ago, one of our funny running gags was when you would always yell out Detroit basketball, all of their PA guy Mason. So your boy. So
oh yeah.
So what do you make of all this? Detroit gets the number 1 pick, and what do you make of all the numbers I just dropped?
Well, the thing is that for first off, for Detroit, they had a 14% chance of winning the draft lottery. They were one of 4 teams that had a legit chance at winning it. The ping pong balls did go their way. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged." No, it's not rigged, guys. They actually showed the video minutes after Detroit won it, and they showed the video. It's on YouTube of how Detroit won it. There was a 4-ball combination that fell right in Detroit's lap, and they won it all. They got the number 1 overall pick. It's a great moment for them. It is a great victory for them. They get the number 1 overall, which is awesome. And at the end of the day, you kind of feel like, this is a big moment for them. Just about, I want to say, almost a couple of decades ago, about 10 or 15 years ago, Detroit was a relevant team. They were a very dangerous team. They were a team that you didn't want to play back in the day. With, of course, the Detroit basketball, as you talked about, Anthony, with Chauncey Billups, with Rip Hamilton, with Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Antonio McDyess at one time. They had a very good team with Larry Brown that won the NBA championship. And then they still had players and pieces that they were working on year in and year out, getting better and better. And then, they kind of fell apart. Everything exploded. They had a Blake Griffin for a little bit. They had Allen Iverson as an Indiana Pacer for a little bit. But it never really materialized after that. So they had good teams. They had a good luck. They had this, but they've been falling on hard times. And other teams, especially in the division, has gotten better. Indiana's a dangerous team now. Chicago they're still a work in progress, but they're getting better year in and year out. They're starting to rise up a little bit, but they're not at the level where they were years ago. So they still got a lot of things that they still need to work on, everything else. But the teams that really needed good draft picks got it. When we talk about Detroit, they needed a really good draft. They really needed that top 4 pick draft. Houston needed a top 4 pick draft, especially after losing James Harden and that whole fiasco. They needed it. Orlando is set up pretty well for the next couple of years with 2 first round, 2 in the lottery. So they're going to be looking good. Toronto, a very good team. This year, it was a rash of injuries that hurt them. If it wasn't for the injuries, I think Toronto would really be a dangerous team out there. So they benefited from the draft lottery. So whatever the case may be, teams that really needed a good juju, good luck, they got it. So now the question is, where do they go from here? What is it going to look like? Well, we'll find out in about a month from now, because that's when the draft happens. And of course, Strictly Sports will be the home as we will be there after the draft, a week after, when we do our one of our other big events of the year, the NBA Draft Recap Show, where we do a deep dive on all 60 picks, how each team did. So we'll give you our thoughts and our opinions on that night when we get there. A week after the NBA draft, and we'll go from there. So, Detroit needed to win it. They got it. Congratulations. I got really nothing more to add. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the Pistons really needed to win this draft lottery, so now they get the number 1 pick, and it's a big moment for them, and what they get with the number 1 pick will be definitely worth it, and they really needed to get this franchise back to what they were, especially when they won those NBA championships, especially with the guys like Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace. I mean, all those great names. So this, to me, is the first step in that direction. I know they still got a lot of work to do, but getting this number one overall pick was big for them. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Florio, I think I give it to you.
Yes, and now we're on to our main event of the evening, which is our preview of the NBA Conference Finals. And we are going to start it off with the series, with the series that's currently going on right now, that being the Western Conference Finals, which will feature the number 4 seed, the Los Angeles Clippers, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Phoenix Suns. The series got underway, I believe it was this past Sunday, and the series got underway this past Sunday on ABC, and the Phoenix Suns won that game by a score of 120 to 114. Game 2 was on Tuesday, featured one of the most insane finishes you will ever see. Phoenix Suns won that game by a score of 104-103. Suns up 2-0. Game 3 currently on ESPN right now at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The Clippers, with under 5 minutes to go in regulation, lead the Suns 94-83. Looking to get back in the series. Game 4, we know, will be on Saturday night. We know there will be at least a Game 5. That will be on Monday night back in Phoenix. Should there be a Game 6, it will be in Los Angeles on Wednesday night. And if there should be a winner-take-all Game 7, that will be in Phoenix on Friday, July 2nd. So you got all that. So with that said, MF, started off with you here. For the Clippers, a chance to go to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history, while the Suns looking for their third Finals appearance, coming off appearances in 1976, and, of course, that legendary series with Michael and the Bulls in 93.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you got to kind of feel like right now, if you're the Phoenix Suns, you're probably feeling really good about yourselves right now after especially winning Game 2 the way you did. Now it looks like CP3 is coming back. I think he is playing tonight in Game 3. You're thinking everything is good. Well, not so fast, my friend, because all of a sudden now the LA Clippers is like, no, you did that in your own house. You got lucky in Game 2. We're kicking your butts tonight. We're taking you out right now. So they're playing a little bit with a monkey on their shoulder, and they're playing a wee bit angry. And they're taking it out on the. They're definitely taking it out on the Phoenix Suns, and I do believe they'll win tonight. Now the question becomes what happens after that. I think that's going to be the big thing. I just feel like right now, it's a great situation going on and the whole 9 yards. But I kind of feel like Phoenix is the team of destiny in my eyes. So for me, I'm going to go out on a big limb here. I got the Phoenix Suns winning the series in 6 games. I think they'll bounce back. They'll probably try to. I don't know if they'll win it tonight, but I do believe that eventually they will get the job done. I do got Phoenix winning and going to the NBA Finals for the 3rd time in their franchise history when they win it all. When I believe they'll win it all, and I think they'll win it in 6 games. So give me Phoenix in 6. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, you can tell that the Clippers they came to play because they know with the way they played in the first 2 games, they felt like one of those games that could have been theirs for the taking. But I think, and one of the keys, obviously, with the way, it's been tough for the Clippers is obviously you still don't have Kawhi Leonard, who is dealing with a knee injury. So, yeah, it was already tough for them, especially with no Kawhi Leonard, and you're already down 2-0. But all you needed was to get back at home and basically that's what's going on right now. But can they hold on? But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, this Phoenix Suns team to me is the team of destiny as far as I'm concerned. I mean, led by obviously you got CP3 back, but to me, it's all about Devin Booker. He's been he's the star of that franchise, and he's the one that's going to probably take them to that promised land. So I'm with Fletch on this one. I got the Suns winning this series in 6 games, so there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
And when it comes to NBA previews, you know my bread and butter, the 3 things to watch. And we'll start it off with this. Number 1, availability of star power. Chris Paul entered the NBA's health and safety protocols on Wednesday, and it's expected Saturday that Phoenix will update the point guard status. Paul isn't expected to miss extensive time, but in a matchup like this, every game is crucial. Kawhi Leonard sat out of games 5 and 6 of the conference semifinals after suffering a sprained knee in the fourth quarter of game 4. The Clippers said Leonard will be out indefinitely, so there's no telling when or if the 2-time NBA Finals MVP will be able to return in the series. Going into Game 5, Clippers coach Ty Lue said there was no timetable for Leonard's potential return, and that's crushing for a team set to play in its first ever Western Conference Finals. Leonard racked up 31 points or more in his last 2 outings, hitting 53.5% from the field. Leonard led the NBA in scoring before Kevin Durant passed him up with a 32-point outing in Game 6 of the second round. Still, George, Mann, Jackson, and Beverly flashed enough glimpses of greatness in closing out Utah to make you believe the Clippers might be just fine without Leonard. And they're looking really good now. They're up 104-88 with 2:20 to go. So, barring a major letdown, it looks like the LA Clippers are going to get back in this series. Number 2, wing dinner. Phoenix's guards receive most of the shine, but this series will likely come down to the wings. The Suns will count on suffocating defense and timely buckets from Jay Crowder and Michael Bridges, who will be handed the responsibility of guarding George if Leonard is out. George, Marcus Morris Sr., and Mann should figure prominently on both ends for the Clippers, especially if Leonard's out. Without Leonard in the fold, George is LA's top perimeter defender, which means he'll likely draw the assignment of guarding Phoenix's 2-time All-Star guard Devin Booker. Booker averaged 25.3 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 4.5 assists in the Suns' 4-game sweep of the Denver Nuggets. So that's not an easy assignment. Besides that, George will be counted upon heavily on the offensive end. Just look at what George did in Game 5 of the second round before following up with another gem in Game 6. It's worth wondering whether George guarding Booker will expend so much energy that it diminishes his production on the offensive end. And number 3, DeAndre Ayton could be a problem. Battle-tested and confident, having faced Anthony Davis and Kia MVP Nikola Jokic in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, Ayton appears to be on a roll at just the right time. The numbers aren't eye-popping, but his 15.2 points a game and 10.6 rebounds in the playoffs are actually up from what he did in the regular season, 14.4 points and 10.5 rebounds. Ayton's prowess as a screener and roller opens up the floor for Phoenix's perimeter players on offense. On the defensive end, Ayton is a major reason Phoenix ranks number 1 in the postseason in defensive rating, 104.7. Now the Suns do rank number 10 in the playoffs in opponent points in the paint, while the Clippers are number 1. Ayton's presence should slow down the Clippers in that department, but LA might struggle to defend Ayton. Ivica Zubac and DeMarcus Cousins aren't athletic enough to get it done consistently. The number to know is 127.7. In the first round, the Brooklyn Nets had the most efficient offensive series in the 25 years for which this data has been compiled, scoring 128 points per 100 possessions over 5 games against the Boston Celtics, a team that ranked 13th defensively in the regular season. In the conference semis, the Clippers had the second most efficient series in the last 25 years, scoring 127.7 points per 100 possessions over 6 games against the Utah Jazz, who ranked 3rd defensively in the regular season. After losing the first 2 games, the Clips scored a remarkable 133.7 points per 100 possessions over the last 4, capping the series by shooting 14 of 19 from 3 in the second half of Game 6. The Suns have had the second-ranked defense in the playoffs. In their 2 series wins, they've held the LA Lakers and Denver Nuggets to 7.2 and 8.7 fewer points per 100 possessions than they scored in the regular season. They're ranked 2nd in both opponent field goal percentage in the restricted area, 60.4%, and opponent three-point percentage, 32.1%. In the regular season, the Clippers had the 4th best offense against Phoenix, scoring more than 120 points per 100 possessions in 2 of the 3 meetings, the 2 in which they had Kawhi Leonard. Paul George's 32.3 points a game was the 3rd highest average among players who played at least 2 games against the Suns. His effective field goal percentage of 69.5% was the 5th best mark among 75 players with at least 25 field goal attempts against the Suns, and his 17 three-pointers were 6 more than any other player made against the Suns. Respect the Suns coach Monty Williams for putting his team on this current path and establishing a culture in Phoenix that should last for several years to come. Throughout every setback encountered during the regular season and postseason, from COVID-19 to injuries, the Suns didn't blink. That's a testament to Coach Williams, the leadership on the roster and Paul and Crowder, and the culture of accountability they've all established. Phoenix appears to be better equipped to handle playing without one of its stars than LA. We definitely witnessed magic from the Clippers in the second half of last Friday's win over Utah, but ultimately the Suns are a deeper team than LA, which will likely experience some matchup issues throughout the course of this series. The Clippers showcased incredible fight despite being overmatched at times in the conference semis to get here, but this is likely where the ride ends for LA. I think this could go 7. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in 6, but I think it could go the distance. But it's at least 6, maybe 7 at worst. But I agree with you guys. I'll make it unanimous. I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns to win this series and advance to their third NBA Finals. The first was in 1976. They lost in 6 games to Bullock Celtics. And then, of course, 1993, one of the most epic final series in history. Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Thunder Dan Marley against MJ and the Bulls in 93. One of the most legendary final series in history. Both of those were losing efforts. Could they break through? We'll see. Or could the Clippers go to their first final? We'll see. So, but nonetheless, I got the Suns in 7. All right, one last order of business, and that is the Eastern Conference Finals, which started last night. It features the number 5 seed, the Atlanta Hawks, squaring off against the number 3 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks. The series started last night at the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, and the Atlanta Hawks stole game 1 on the road, 116 to 113. And by the way, it is now a final in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Clippers defeat the Phoenix Suns 106-92. They cut the Suns series lead to 2 games to 1. Game 4 Saturday night in Los Angeles on ESPN. Getting back to this, Game 2 of Atlanta and Milwaukee is tomorrow night, and that'll be on TNT in Milwaukee. Series shifts to Atlanta for Game 3 on Sunday night. Game 4, that'll be on Tuesday night. Should there be a Game 5, it'll be next Thursday night in Milwaukee. A Game 6 would take place on Saturday night, July 3rd. And that'll be in Atlanta. And if a Game 7, winner-take-all Game 7 is needed, that'll take place in Milwaukee on Monday night, July 5th. So with all that being said, Michael Bullock, let's start this off with you here. Speaking of long droughts, I don't know the last time the Hawks were in the finals. I think they were the St. Louis Hawks back then. But for the Milwaukee Bucks, can they finally get to the finals for the first time in 47 years? Last time they played it was in 1974, and they lost to your Celtics in 7.
Yeah, this is an interesting series, obviously, and you got 2 of the biggest stars on both sides. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks, and then of course Trae Young. What can you say about Trae Young? I mean, he has really emerged, and he really showed it big time in Game 1 in stealing that game. So I think the key here for the Bucks is obviously you gotta control Trae Young and make somebody else on the Atlanta Hawks beat you. And obviously for the Hawks, it's all about stopping Antetokounmpo because you know what he can do. So yeah, this is going to be a very fun series, but this is tough. But for me, I gotta go with the Milwaukee Bucks here. I just think they're the better team, and let's not forget one thing, guys. 2 years ago, this team was in the conference finals and thought they were the team of destiny, but the Toronto Raptors stopped them. So, yeah, you know that's got to be motivation for the Bucks to not let the same thing happen this time around. So, I'm going with the Bucks to win it, and I think it's going to go 6 games. So, Florio, it is yours.
I just did my research, and the Atlanta Hawks have They've never been to the NBA Finals as the Atlanta Hawks. The last time they were in the finals was actually in 1961 when they were the St. Louis Hawks, and they had a lot of legendary series with the Boston Celtics. Those were legendary series. They've only won one championship, and that came back in 1958. They beat the Celtics in 6 games to win that 1958 championship. So that's the story for the Atlanta Hawks. As for the Milwaukee Bucks, looking at their stuff, at their history, their only championship was in 1971. They defeated the then Baltimore Bullets in a 4-game sweep. Their last finals appearance was in 1974. They lost in 7 games to Michael Bullock's Celtics. They've been to the conference finals a few times, but they just couldn't get over the hump. This is the second time in 3 years they're in this series. So it's going to be a long drought either way. Either the Hawks get there for the first time in 60 years, or the Bucks get there for the first time in 47 years. I'm unreal. So, all right. 3 things to watch as always. Number 1, the point guard matchup. Milwaukee has to shift gears significantly now to cope with the electric and elusive Trae Young. Brooklyn had no one who played at Young's revved-up pace, and while the Bucks were near the top in pace as a team, this will put more individual pressure on point guard Drew Holiday as well as the bigs, Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and others, who will need to have Holiday's back. Holiday, meanwhile, shot poorly against the Nets, just 36% overall and 26% from 3. So if defense drains his offense anymore, Milwaukee's top playmaking alternative to the Greek Freak might suffer. 2, Antetokounmpo with the scent of a ring. Clearly, this is Milwaukee's and its 2-time Kia MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo's best chance to reach the NBA Finals. The next obvious step in his ascendancy as one of the league's all-time greats. An exit at this round will only bring more impatience and nagging criticisms, especially with the Bucks as favorites now. The 6'11" force of nature was close to his overall numbers in 3 games against Atlanta this season: 24.3 points, 11 rebounds, and 4.7 assists. 64.3% shooting a game, but he'll need to play smarter than he did in the early games against Brooklyn, as in laying off the 3-point attempts and, hard as it might be, tightening up his free throw routine to erase that as a focal point for Hawks fans and the refs. And number 3, Bogdanović hits Milwaukee. The Hawks' lively 6'6" wing was hurt when these teams met back in January, so he will be making his season debut at Fiserv Forum. Why does that matter? Bogdanović was the one who got away last offseason, a restricted free agent over whom the Bucks jumped the gun in trying to work a sign-and trade with Sacramento. Milwaukee got penalized for what technically became tampering, losing a future second-round pick and the chance to land Bogdanović. He missed 25 games, but settled in to average 16.4 points and shoot 43.8% on threes. Bogdanović averaged 14.6 points for Atlanta in the first 2 rounds before a sore leg against the Sixers limited him to 4 points in Game 7. Then again, if the Bogdanović deal worked out, would Milwaukee have managed to get PJ Tucker at the trade deadline from Houston? The backstory makes Bogey in Milwaukee worth watching. The number to know, 11.9. On average, the Bucks have held their 2 playoff opponents to 11.9 fewer points per 100 possessions than they scored in the regular season. Milwaukee had the number 1 defense in the first round, holding the Miami Heat to just 95.4 per 100, 15.2 fewer than they scored in the regular season. In the conference semis, the only defense better than that of the Bucks was the one they played. They were outscored over 7 games, but held the Nets to just 107.3 points per 100 possessions, 9.9 fewer than the league's number 1 offense scored in the regular season. Brooklyn was obviously dealing with key injuries, but dealt with the same when they recorded the most efficient offensive season in NBA history. The Bucks are the only team to have won a game in these playoffs while scoring less than a point per possession on their own end of the floor, and they've done it in each round. The Hawks have shown the ability to win ugly themselves, winning games 4 and 7 of their series against Philadelphia, while scoring 104 and 103 points per 100 possessions. Milwaukee ranks in the top 5 in all of the 4 factors on defense. Number 1 in both defensive rebounding percentage and opponent free throw rate, 19.3 attempts per 100 shots from the field. Jimmy Butler's rate of 34.4 attempts per 100 shots from the field, 22 out of 64 in the first round, was much higher than that, but down from 56.5 in the regular season. The Bucks will be in good shape as they can similarly suppress the free throw rate of Trae Young, who had 19 and 11 attempts in the Hawks' last 2 wins of the conference semis. Young has been on of the one of the 2021 postseason's breakout stars, grabbing the NBA spotlight that burns so bright at this time of the year to make himself, at age 22, a gate attraction and the first priority for opponents' game planning against the Hawks. Atlanta's transformation after coach Nate McMillan took over at the start of March for fired coach Lloyd Pierce from 14-20 to 27-11, plus 8-4 so far in the playoffs has been remarkable. But, and you knew it was coming, right? Milwaukee has the edge in experience, the series' biggest star in Antetokounmpo, and if you pick teams playground style, 3 of the top 4 picks. The Bucks had their hands full against Kevin Durant, but survived, and now they've got home court. Initially, I had Milwaukee winning the series in 5, but I'm starting to think maybe 6 now, or maybe even 7, but I think it could go 6. But nonetheless, I still think Milwaukee can finally break through and finally get to the NBA Finals for the first time in 47 years since some guy named Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was running things down there. So not much more to say. With this Final Four, we're going to see a long drought snapped. We're either going to see the LA Clippers or Phoenix Suns win their first ever championship, while for the other team, it would be, I believe, their second. Atlanta last won it in 1958. Milwaukee last won it in 1971. So we're going to see history made no matter who comes out of this. So I got Milwaukee winning originally in 5, but after what I saw last night, I think it'll be at least 6. So I got Milwaukee winning the series. So MF, take this home.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be a very good series. I cannot believe Atlanta stole game 1. I cannot believe that happened. But Trae Young is an absolute stud, man. He's going to be a problem for years to come, man. And this is going to be a very good series, but this is Milwaukee's series to win. Milwaukee, they're the team of destiny. That's why I believe in my mind, and that's why I believe in my heart that they are the team of destiny. After they knocked out the Brooklyn Nets, I believe they're going to be the team that's going to get it. They're going to get there to the finals. If they get to the finals, maybe they win it. Who knows? We'll see. But I do got Milwaukee advancing, and I think it's going to go all 7. I think it's going to go the max. I think it's going to go 7 games, but I got the Milwaukee Bucks as the Eastern Conference champion. So nothing more to say. Anthony, let's call it a night.
Yes, sir. And that will put the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in this evening. As always, no show tomorrow, but we will be back with you on Saturday night for another special Saturday night edition of the Wrestling Forum, where we will review Friday Night SmackDown and Saturday AEW Dynamite. That'll be at 10:30 Saturday night. And then from there, we're back to our normal schedule. That means Monday night Ridiculously Raw, Wednesday, the return of Wednesday Night Mayhem, NXT, and AEW Dynamite. This show next week, Strictly Sports, where we will talk about the Seattle Kraken's first head coach and our full comprehensive preview of the Stanley Cup Finals. Montreal Canadiens there, but will it be against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champs, or will it be against the upstart New York Islanders? We'll find that out tomorrow night when they play Game 7. And then the return of the Cerebral Smack Talk next Friday night SmackDown, and then that's it. So with that, until Saturday night for the Saturday night edition of the Wrestling Forum, this is Anthony Florio here, signing off on behalf of my panel, good old MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Didi Woodson, and always and forever, the Yankee Messiah 401 Derek Forever. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Saturday night for that Saturday night edition of the Wrestling Forum over on MF channel, RaceFan 95. You've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, 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 bye.